Hi, so this video is for men and how to build successful lives and successful relationships. And what this video is going to do is to fill in all those blanks of missing information and understanding. So yeah, it's probably a different approach to what you're used to, but keep an open mind because you'll probably find that this video will be head and shoulders above the rest. So I'm going to start by looking at the female vis male psyche. Now, if we go back in time, men were basically the hunters. They would go out and do all the dirty work regarding killing animals and foraging and etc. etc. And then females then would take care of the rest basically. Um, so there's two very distinct mindsets, and your male basically is like the explorer, inquisitive, and will be like proactive in trying to work things out basically. And your female then might be more reserved and sort of absorbing information and then processing it. So if we look at these two characteristics growing up, the explorer, the inquisitive, as he starts to achieve, will be showered with praise, um, and then because of that, obviously it's going to make them feel that they've accomplished something, and there's praising from the person that or the people that they look up to, and this instills self pride from a place of assertiveness, I suppose you could say, and it encourages more of the same behaviour, exploring, being inquisitive, etc. And then your female, let's say she's going to be more reserved, more thoughtful, um, and obviously should be more influencing by the female role models. And yet, as she's being thoughtful towards others, again, this will be given recognition, there'll be praise for it, and this in turn will sort of validate that approach. And again, self pride will be built from that, but it will be along the lines of being thoughtful and doing for others. Um, and again, I say there'll be self pride in that, and it'll encourage more of the same. So we got two very distinct channels growing up. Let's say the male is more assertive, the explorer, inquisitive, um, and because he is more assertive, as the praise is given and the self pride and self belief, I suppose, is gained from that. He will become more self assured. Um, and again, the same with the female. Because she's been given praise for being thoughtful towards others, doing for others, it's going to expand her thought process more along those lines. How can I become more thoughtful? What can I do that is more useful for others? So I say we got two very distinct channels here growing up. Now, all through this, I say the male, because he's more assertive, he's there hogging more of the limelight. So if you think of that from a female's perspective, she's there sort of like in the shadow, basically. Yes, she's been given praise and recognition, but the very nature of being assertive, inquisitive, etc., etc., he is going to hog more of that limelight. So limelight being what it is, it can also be somewhat intimidating. And then we also have to take into account the actual physical stature of a male compared to a female. There's no rocket science when we look through sports achievements that men always seem to outperform your average female simply because their body, is that much heavier, it's that much more stronger built, etc. So there's always this element of intimidation. Now, being that in nature, it's only natural then for females to form a collective then, because obviously there is this sort of like vulnerability, I suppose you could say, and then there's strength in numbers. So it's no real surprise to me that females are more sort of social and group together and stick together simply because of this vulnerability. Um, Now, if we look at that further, growing up, let's say your average female might feel that she's sort of like be sort of like sidelined, and the male is sort of like getting more of the recognition because outwardly it looks like he's possibly achieving more. Um, so this in turn can lead to a need for validation. So we've already discovered that females, because of this potential feeling of being vulnerable, group together. Now, obviously, peers and peer influence has a profound effect on someone's psychology, I suppose you could say. And then obviously growing up, peers talk about all manner of things, and females perhaps talk more. Plus, obviously, they're already geared towards being more thoughtful towards others, understanding others, etc. So there's going to be a whole manner of things discussed through peers, um, and there's also this potential possible need of validation as well. Sorry. So, as I say, growing up, there's going to be expectations, and obviously, they discuss all that amongst their peers. So, growing up, there's obviously, the natural thing is that okay, you're going to get married and you're going to have children. Okay, marriage not so much now, because attitudes have to change somewhat towards it, but forming families, having well, forming relationships, then forming families, etc., etc., and then sort of being successful and happy and everything else. So through peer influence, as I say, they'll discuss many things, and there will be an expectation sorry, around what they expect from a man. And peer pressure being what it is, everyone wants to feel included, and there'll be a whole sharing of thoughts around expectations, and there will be like a collective agreement then of minimum expectation. So, if we actually look at the expectation of what your average female wants from a man in a relationship, or how she perceives a successful man to be. Okay, so if we break it down, basically it's a man who is confident in himself, respects himself, he's achieving in life, and yet he's not arrogant. He presents and conducts himself from a place of integrity. He takes time to listen, takes time to understand, which in turn validates people. He's compromising and always working towards forming the best outcomes, and um, working towards people achieving in their best interests. Um, and he'll go the extra mile for her as well, as he values her and he values their relationship. So this is basically a female's expectation from man, someone who is confident in himself, and yet humble, um, someone who's not arrogant, someone who conducts and presents himself in a respectful way and a place from integrity, and someone who can add value to her and her life. And again, as I say, this will be like discussed amongst peers growing up, female peers, and there will be a collective agreement on it. So no respecting female is going to lower herself um, by accepting less than that, because at the end of the day, if she needs validation, if she wants validation, and she wants to be elevated, then it's got to be a man who can deliver on those expectations, which in turn validates her life, basically, elevates her, and gives her life meaning and purpose, which is what we all want anyway, isn't it? So, okay, this is a tall ask, but the offset to that is that this kind of man with these kind of qualities is not only going to be an ideal man, somebody a female can invest in, but it is also somebody who's going to achieve in life in all areas as well. Simply because he's got very fine qualities, he's confident in himself, he's aware of his capabilities, and he knows where to focus to achieve. Um, Now, an easy way to tick a lot of these boxes is to do martial arts training. Now, that might sound a bit odd, but if we look at martial arts, they're steeped in tradition, they're steeped in etiquette, um, and the very nature of them, there's a lot of techniques involved. But more than that, to be a effective martial art, it involves pressure testing. So it's basically learning techniques and then what I'm looking for is missing. But basically, you're there, you're in free flow, and you're there, you're practicing against other students, and it's not just like against one student in the martial arts class. It's going to be like against many. So it's going to be many there with like different skill sets, etc. So yeah, you're practicing the techniques in free flow against many students. And this has a knock-on effect to your actual subconscious, because you're there, you're practicing against other students of different skill levels. You're having to think on your feet, trying to deliver techniques in correct form-ish, because obviously it's free flow, so it's not going to be perfection, because you're not going to be always in the right position to actually deliver perhaps a technique to its correct form. But that this is where your mind is geared towards. And in the case of grappling, then okay, yeah, there is going to be more emphasis on having to do that technique right. But then if it's sort of something like sport karate or MMA sort of sparring on your feet, then you're not going to be in like an ideal position all the time. Um, but you're there. You know the techniques, and you're there trying to deliver a technique that's going to score. Um, but I say this has a knock-on effect on the subconscious, and the subconscious then it's having to think. Well, you have to think on your feet. Through time, you become relaxed, and your mind will be like in a state of flux with high concentration. And because it's calm and it's in a state of flux, you'll be able to move quickly and freely, always adapting to the situation. So you're going to be aware of your opponent. You're going to be aware of your surroundings, and then so you're going to be practicing free flow against all manner of students, different skill sets, having to think on your feet, and then through your own proven self-competence, then you will gain confidence in yourself and your abilities, and learn that you can depend on yourself to adapt accordingly. Now, I'll say it's also steeped in etiquette and tradition, and any good instructor would want his students all to get to a same place of mental strength and physical strength. And you quickly learn that you can't judge a book by its cover, and you learn healthy respect accordingly. But you also expect that respect in return. And the very nature of the whole etiquette around it is mutual respect from each student, irrespective of how skilled they are, etc., compared to yourself. There's a blanket behaviour of giving and expecting respect, and as time progresses and as you gain experience, etc., it's going to build your character, and it's all from a place of being humble, um, and yet also aware of your self-competence. And I say, I mean, and the instructor is going to want all his students or her students to get to the same place of mental and physical strength. As I say, you quickly learn that you can't judge a book by its cover, and any kind of arrogance, etc., is quickly addressed. And you can well imagine that you're starting as a beginner, and that there's people there of much higher skill level than yourself. So it's no surprise in that any kind of egos, etc., can be quickly addressed accordingly. And it is done from a place of let's say mutual respect. It's done in a respectful manner, and yet you quickly learn that you're not quite the Superman that you thought you were. And I say, through time you gain in experience, and then you're aware of your own self-competence. And all the while you're thinking on your feet, and you're having to adapt. And this transcends into day-to-day life as well. You learn to depend upon yourself, because you're aware of what's going on around in your surroundings. This obviously makes you look alert, etc., etc. And again, this all affects the way that you present and conduct yourself, and your average female will notice this. As someone who respects themselves, um, is aware of their self competence from a place of being humble, not arrogant, has direction in life, is someone that a female is going to this is someone that is worthy then for a female to invest in. So hopefully this has been a bit of insight. Hopefully this has filled in a few gaps for you, a different way of thinking. I will obviously, the other thing then, take time to actually watch people and how they interact with others, because there's a lot to be learned about people from watching how they interact with other people. And human nature being what it is, we all have our priorities in life. We all have our own visions of what it is we want to achieve, and our very actions tend to sort of gear towards them. And this will all be reflected in how someone conducts and presents himself. So take time to watch your female counterparts, etc., and watch how they interact, and you'll soon learn a lot about them as a person. And when you understand them as a person, actually starting conversations, etc., it becomes so much easier because you have an understanding of who that person is. And for me, I mean, with relationships, um, a really cost-effective way might be to, let's say, start a conversation, get a bit of interaction, social interaction going, and then ask them out for a coffee. And then if they agree, then lay your cards on the table, You're laying off the cards on the table. Is that potential foundation to a relationship? If they feel the same way about yourself, if they feel that you are someone worth investing in, then they will lay their cards on the table as well. And then you've got a solid foundation for a relationship, a strong relationship moving forward. Um, so, as a bonus, if you formed a relationship and we're now sort of like heading towards the bedroom, then an easy way to make it easy is just to get to a place where the pair of you are going to spend the night together, and then you've got all night then to just get closer. There's no pressure, or there's less pressure, um, and it makes life so much easier because a lot of males, you've invested in this woman, and she's invested in you, and then there's all the expectation and that it's got to be perfect, etc., etc. It puts so much pressure on the male psyche. Very often they find that against all odds, they're just not in a position to deliver on that expectation. So the easy way is spend the night together and just let things unfold naturally. Um, and rather than sort of think about, oh, the main course, it's all about the main course. Well, it's not, because there's a whole distance to go before you get to the main course. And it's being attentive, because how do you know what your woman is expecting of you in the bedroom? You don't. You don't. All this expectation is self-manifested and pressure that you're putting on yourself. And the way to know if you're delivering on expectation is to be attentive. So, let's say my approach would be get to a place where the pair of you can spend the night together, so there's plenty of time, and just let things unfold naturally, and then just be attentive, and chemistry being what it is, it's going to be a two-way street, and take things from there. So hopefully this video has been of some help. Hopefully it's filled in a lot of gaps. Personally, looking at other videos out there, I don't think any video has approached this from this angle, and I think it's a really healthy way to approach things. I say it's not only romantic relationships; it's also life in general, because anyone who can deliver on that woman's expectation is going to deliver in life as well. So hopefully this video has been of some help. Hopefully it's been of value. And if you wish to leave comments, please do so. Thank you.